But it also raises another question that disturbs me that you've touched on there, Patrick, because we saw the same results in a poll, I think it was January this year in France, a big poll of French Muslims. There's 6 million there, showing again something like 10% of support of extremist groups. Plus, of course, the young being more radical than the older people. And that goes right across this assumption, oh, look, don't worry about the ones we're bringing in. The kids will learn to adapt and soon you won't notice the difference. That's not the case in France. And in here, in this particular survey, you got 46% of younger Muslims actually wanted a Muslim political party set up, and 43%, nearly half, wanted to make Britain an Islamic state. I mean, seriously.
Yeah, and we hear a lot, don't we, about, oh, multiculturalism has failed. I actually think that's very, very disrespectful to a lot of other cultures that have come to Britain and Europe and completely assimilated. I think it is actually a specific problem with pockets of the Islamic faith and not wanting to assimilate. We can see it borne out time and time again as a result of these polls. There are some other things, you know, like the overwhelming majority of them want halal food to be compulsory in schools and hospitals. People might think that's less concerning, but again, I suppose it maybe does indicate no real desire to assimilate there. The stats here are very, very stark. They also are in favour in the round of removing MPs who do not share their views when it comes to the Israel-Palestine conflict. So an increased militancy and an increased politicisation of the Islamic faith in Britain. If only someone could have seen this coming.
Yeah, well, It really does worry me. Again, like I say, this lazy assumption that there's going to be assimilation. The point is, of course, and we're seeing, I think, the same in Australia now, recent surveys showing young people generally, not just Muslim, lacking a sense of feeling that this is really their country. We're having this massive intake of immigrants from very different cultures at times, at a time when Western societies are saying how hateful they are. Why would anyone want to pledge loyalty to, like Britain? You're a racist, genocidal country with a shameful history on slavery. You've got to tear down portraits of old English people from the past, like you're getting on Oxford's Oriel College at the moment, or a statue in Birmingham, wherever it was. This is the problem, isn't it? People want to feel part of something bigger and better than themselves, and the Western cultures aren't offering it to them, or they're actually telling them, look elsewhere.
Yeah, no, indeed, we have a problem on multiple fronts. So if people do ultimately feel as though they're serving a higher power, i.e. their God, and that has complete supremacy over everything else, that's very difficult to combat. We also have that internal kind of demolition, really, of what it is to be British and a sense of nationhood. Nothing to cling on to there, undermining and teaching that everything that we've done is bad. No, in any way, attempt whatsoever to force some kind of assimilation. So kind of almost a simping, really, to other cultures. But the mindset now of young people, not just British Muslims, but young people in general, we're seeing groups like radical climate actors teaming up with, I would argue, really quite extreme Palestinian activist groups to commit now just acts of vandalism on the streets and take on political parties. There is a problem with the younger generation here in Britain. And that is because we're not actually selling them a vision. And you look around, you look at all our major cities and towns, and you are seeing, really, the destruction of any kind of national identity whatsoever. Is it any surprise, really, then, when they rebel and they are drawn maybe to more radical actors, especially with the implication as well that TikTok and social media has? We have massive amounts of radical preachers on TikTok poisoning young minds, and as well, huge increases in the number of converts to the Islamic faith from the young, white British community. It really is on the march, Andrew.
I'm afraid it is, Patrick. Patrick Christys, thank you so much indeed for your time.